We are out in the garden and we found something so exciting. These Kajari... Welcome back to our channel, Hume's Little Homestead. First, I want to give a quick apology because this garden tour was supposed to be done in the middle of August and it's now the very end of August, and I think this video might not get put out until September. But hang in there, bear with me. I've actually been pretty deep in the stages of grief during this August and September. As many of you know, we were expecting to have twin babies this month. And as many of you know, our babies' heartbeats stopped and we did not get to bring those babies home. Well, we brought them home and we had a funeral for them, but it's been really hard. So I haven't really gotten around to filming the garden. I also need to say the garden doesn't look very great, but we have been getting produce from it, and so that is a plus and very exciting. With that, all of that being said, I don't want to be the type of person that makes excuses forever for everything. Yes, my life is a little hard right now, but it's okay, and I do want to show you the things that are growing, thriving, or not. So I'm starting with the trees, and behind me right here is our peach tree in the front yard, and this was given to us by my in-laws for our second miscarriage, which was Liam, little Liam, and this is a peach tree and it's looking fabulous. Here it is. It was covered in aphids after we got a freeze. Knuckles is down here, taking a bath apparently. Anyway, it was covered in aphids in the beginning of spring. We got a late freeze and it didn't like that late freeze, but as you can see, it's doing really well. I was going to come out and treat it, and it actually had ladybugs all over it, so I ended up not treating this with anything. It kind of just bounced back on its own, and the ladybugs took care of the aphids, which I'm a huge fan of ladybugs, so really, really happy about that. Over here on the side of our property is a huge experiment that the kids and I did together. And we started trees from seeds from the grocery store. We started pear trees and peach trees. Now, 2 of the pear trees made it. This is one of those pear trees. And I think 9 of the peach trees originally made it, but we have lost a few along the way. Here's the second pear tree. This is pear. And the lighting is a little strange, but as you can see, they look pretty neat all in a row. And we're hoping that they will just grow and be beautiful. Ryan accidentally chopped this one down all the way, and it came back, so we're happy about that. Here is peach tree number 2. Peach tree number 3. This one's the healthiest of all of them. Peach tree number 4. Here's where we lost a peach tree. I planted a cherry tree from my friend in Kentucky, but I'm not sure it's gonna make it. Right here is peach tree number, oh, what did I say? Now I lost count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Peach tree number 5. Peach tree number 6. And peach tree number 7. And they're doing pretty good. My friends from Kentucky gave me an oak tree. It's planted right here. It's growing very slow, but it has some new growth. And we'll see how it does. Hi, Knuckles. Then over here is our lovely maple tree, also from, this one was from my cousin in Kentucky. And it is just looking pretty good. Looks like a few of the leaves got damaged from the hailstorm, but this top new growth, it's so beautiful, and it has grown so quickly and so tall. When I brought it home, it was like right here, this tall. I should have marked it with a marker just because it's growing so fast, and I got it to grow pretty straight by tying it. It was really flexible, so I was able to tie it while it was still pretty flexible and get its trunk to be as straight as I possibly could. And its leaves are just beautiful. They have this red tint to them, so it's a really pretty tree. And then this archway here is trumpet vines. Also, I've heard them called hummingbird vines. They put off the big red flowers, and I started this plant from seed, and it is looking beautiful. I've got 3 of them that took and 3 of them that survived. This one's a little bit short, but it's still bushy and looking good, so I'm not too concerned. I can hear all the chicks peeping that they need some more food. Now, this rhubarb plant, I have moved it a couple of different times, and it's not looking great right now. I think it just needs to be watered. I haven't watered it in a while. But it does like this new location. It usually looks pretty good, but right now it's looking a little sad. And then I've got a columbine flower here that's really neat. And I moved the bleeding heart bush. I will show you where I moved it. And this delphinium plant is putting off little seed pods. So this is very neat, pretty fascinating. It was so pretty when it was in full bloom. I still think the stage it's in looks neat, and it's still putting off new growth. This bright green growth is the new growth. So it really likes being next to the chicken coop. The apple trees have really taken off this summer and have really shot up and grown a lot bigger than they were. I'll show you here how it's looking from back farther. And I'm really excited to see this growth of that apple tree. We have some weeds. Weeds are winning currently. This here is Marshmallow that I planted, and it is doing very well. I put this stick here for when Ryan weed eats, he'll know not to chop this one down. Its leaves are very soft. It's really neat herb. Now I've got snapdragons here that have done beautifully. Oh cool, this one's putting off seed. It's lived its life cycle, it's dropping seed, so I'm hoping that these snapdragons will just spread. Behind that I have Colorado yarrow. I got those seeds from Baker Creek. And then here is all my lilies. I've done very bad about weeding the flower garden, but the lilies stayed pretty short in this section. So I'm gonna see what I can do to remedy the soil for the lilies right here. Now, the rest of the garden, the flower garden, is Canamix and, oh goodness, I forgot the name. There's a hummingbird. Hummingbirds love these flowers. Oh, I think I scared it off. They also love to perch on all of my fencing that I have up and my archways. So I'll see if I find another one. I'll see if I can film it. Anyway, these big flowers here in the middle are Canamix, and I wasn't sure if they would overwinter, but they did. And so they're all down the middle of this row. And then I'm forgetting what these are called. Gladiolas. These are all gladiolas. They've all pretty much lived their life cycle, but their greenery still looks pretty beautiful. I want to show this Canamix. I love when they have the speckled textures on those flowers. Super pretty. I have to show you the other side here because we are growing dahlias, and they flopped over a little, so I've had some advice on Facebook to go ahead and use tomato cages for them. I'm not sure if I should put the tomato cages on now. Ryan just weeded, so you can see these lovely flowers, but they have a few little weeds on them. But look how neat this one is. It has the little splotches of white on it. I think this one is gonna bloom like that too. And we got bulbils again this year on the tiger lilies. So what these little things are, I learned last year, it's a mini lily bulb. So what the plant will do, you can see it already has a root growing. That's the root. It will drop them in the fall and it will produce more lilies. And you can let it do that, or you can collect all the bulbils and plant them in a pot. I had a little bit of success with that, but I wasn't able to get them planted outside successfully. So I may try that experiment again. A mouse ate some of them. I don't know if I got a close-up on these. I'm gonna do it really fast just to make sure you can see how pretty these are. It's really neat flowers. And then we have down here another apple tree. This one is a dwarf variety, I believe, so I don't think it's gonna get too much taller than this. That one is a full size, so it should get much taller, which I'm excited about. And I originally put these trees here so that the chickens would have shade. Now I have around the chicken coop. I love around the chicken coop. I used to really not like this area, didn't think it was very pretty, but I've been working on planting things here and remembering to water them so they would grow. This is just a maple tree. I'm not sure where to plant it. We brought it home from Kentucky. I put a little stick in there to remind me. This is also from the same friends that gave me the oak tree and the cherry tree. These are our foxglove flowers. I think I planted them too late. We'll see. Look at this feverfew though. It is really pretty. And I'm hoping, it looks like it's dropping some seed over here. I'm hoping that it will drop some seed and just spread out. I'm not sure if feverfew is a perennial or not. I have to do a little more research on it. Here is our pineapple sage from Arkansas that I got at that plant stand in Arkansas on our road trip. It is doing so pretty. Thank you so much for the recommendations to cut it back. I followed your advice, I cut it back, and it's looking beautiful. It's so gorgeous. Next up is our raspberry bushes. These are from my mother-in-law. Oop, a bird pooped on that leaf. But we have 3 raspberry bushes here and they all are looking really good, and they just sort of took off a couple weeks ago. Last month they were all pretty short, but right now they're just really taking off for whatever reason. They like the weather. We've been so lucky. Our evenings have been in the 60s, 60 degrees Fahrenheit, and our days have been in the 90s, 90 degrees Fahrenheit. So it's like the most perfect gardening weather ever, which is why we had so many weeds taking over. But here is the orange mint that I got from Arkansas. I bought 1 plant of orange mint. If you will remember, this was 1 teeny tiny plant. I picked off one of these branches and I put one in the ground and it grew. And I'm so happy because I really want this to just be full of mint and raspberry bushes. And it looks like the raspberry bushes aren't competing too much with the mint just yet. If they do, I'll just prune back the mint heavily to make sure that the raspberry bushes get the nutrients that they need. Right here is my lemon thyme, and I think this plant smells so pretty. I wish you could just smell it through the camera. Here is my sweet marjoram. It almost died, but I think it's gonna come back. See a bunch of little new growths. I'm very sad this plant died. It used to be so beautiful, but I think it's gonna make a comeback. And if it doesn't get much better, I can bring it in the house because I know it was thriving in the house. This here is lemon balm, and it smells heavenly as well. Some of these things I'm keeping in pots to try and contain. I do have a patch of lemon balm on a different spot that I will show you, and it is doing well. Here is regular peppermint. It died back too, but we watered it the other day and it's doing well. I think I'm going to trim off the tops of these very soon and dry the leaves for some tea. And then that will let this new growth down here really come out when I trim that up. Now, this is the small little herb garden kit that Ryan bought me. This wasn't really an herb garden kit. This kit he bought at Tractor Supply to build a raised garden bed for me, and I wanted to plant all herbs in it. So here I planted these all from seed. Actually, my daughter planted this one from seed. This is rosemary. This is regular thyme. I've got the lemon thyme in another pot down there, but this is just plain thyme. I think it's called German thyme on the seed pack. This is oregano, and this overwintered in the garden, and I ended up digging it out of the regular garden and planting it in here. And this is my sage plant. And this little one that Haley planted is called St. John's wort. And I was finally able to identify it. I wasn't able to identify it till it grew a little more, but I'm pretty confident it's St. John's wort, which I'm really happy she planted that because I really wanted some more. Down here I have aloe vera and one of the avocado trees I brought outside to see if it could survive. Then come around the corner of the chicken coop. I have a couple trees that I plucked out of the regular main garden. When I'm weeding and I see something that doesn't look like a weed, sometimes I'll put them in pots like these trees. So because I didn't want them to die, I thought it's a tree, I want to try and grow it. So there's the trees that I plucked out from the main garden. Over here is our 3 blueberry bushes and some lavender plants. There's a feather. This one was from Walmart. It's not doing so well. It looks like it might come back. I'm not sure. And then there's the second blueberry bush. This is the lavender I started from seed, and it's starting to really take root and take off. And my third blueberry bush and some petunias. My goal for this section right here is just to have tall, awesome blueberry bushes with lavender growing underneath. Blueberries and lavender both have shallow root systems, so that's why this works. Blueberries, you have to be really careful what you plant them with because of their shallow root system. So I want to stress that blueberries don't like companion planting necessarily. If you're going to companion plant with something, make sure it has a shallow root system and it's not going to have to compete with it. Let me bring you over here to the tomatoes. So, as I've mentioned before, I was a little disappointed. Not all the tomatoes made it this year. We're having a little bit of a strange tomato year, but I'm noticing my neighbor's tomatoes are also struggling, so at least I'm not the only one. The one thing I didn't do is, normally I plant a marigold at the bottom of every single tomato plant, and I didn't do that this year until the tomatoes were struggling, and then I went ahead and put marigolds at the bottom, and it seemed to help. Marigolds are nitrogen fixers, so their roots put nitrogen into the soil. And tomatoes are heavy nitrogen feeders, so marigolds can really help put more nitrogen into the soil while the tomato is sucking up the nitrogen into their own. Let's start here, yellow Brandywine, and this tomato looks about ready to pick. It's a beautiful golden color. Those specks are just weed specks. So yellow Brandywine right here. Then I have a tomato that I planted from a branch, and I don't know what kind it is. I'm sorry. And I don't know if it will grow. And then I have marigolds all along here. Another tomato that I just planted from one of the, they're called suckers. Now this is the San Marzano, and I love these little rocks that I painted at the beginning of the season. They're very helpful. This tomato right here is a very good tomato for making salsa or canning the whole tomato. When you blanch it, the skin peels right off and it plops right into the jar. It's also goes through our, we have this little tomato squisher, tomato juicer, I'm not sure what it's called, but it squishes the tomato through, and we found that these long, skinnier ones worked really well for that machine that we have. Next to that, we have yellow pear. These are my kids' favorite. They haven't been out here picking them, but there's a few ready that they could come and pick. I have some yellowing leaves going on, probably needs more water. That would be my guess. We also have some tomato hornworms, but the yellow pear always takes over. And so this is kind of what I was expecting all my tomatoes to look like, is this yellow pear one, but they just didn't all take off like that. Next, right here was the black cherry tomato, and it never produced, so I took one of the suckers off this blue cream berry. Uh-oh, looks like some tomato hornworm damage right here. These are the blue cream berry from Baker Creek. Now, I'm going to be honest, these have not given us our favorite flavor in a tomato this year, which I'm really sad about because everyone I follow on Instagram just raved about these tomatoes. Now, I'm not discouraging you to grow them because maybe your family would love the taste of these. My family just has not loved the taste of these. And I don't think it's the growing conditions causing them to be unflavorful or anything, because these tomatoes growing right next to them, Matt's Wild Cherry, taste delicious and fabulous. And so it's pretty much the same exact growing conditions, even spacing wise and everything. So I think my family just doesn't like this flavor of tomato, which I'm very, very sad about. I'll probably still grow it next year because I like to grow all kinds of fun tomatoes. But my favorite tomato that was on this corner was a black cherry, and it didn't grow, and I'm very sad about that. Well, it was growing and then it died, and we just had some problems. This is Matt's Wild Cherry, and it has been the family favorite this year, even more than the yellow pear. They just have the most intense, delicious flavor. Some of these little spots, we had a hailstorm, and the green tomatoes got damaged. You can see that damage right there? That's from getting pelted by hail. And so when they ripen, you can still eat them. There's just a little yellow spot on there. These zinnias are so pretty. There's a couple different kinds of all together. And they just got huge and they look really pretty. Same with these yellow. These are just yellow zinnias. These were the free seed pack from Baker Creek this year. This tomato right here is called a green zebra tomato. And the way you know they're ripe is they turn a little bit yellow when you're gonna pick them. So right now they're all really, really green. So these dark green flecks stay green, but these little patches of light green, they turn a yellow color and they get a little soft, and then you'll know they're ready to pick. This here is calendula. Haley planted this for me, and I was so happy she did because I wanted to plant this. Oh look, it's producing seeds. That's cool. Anyway, there's some black ones. I need to come and collect these seeds. Look how neat they look. I'll sprinkle those down there. This is a very neat herb. I've been learning a little bit about it. Go ahead and do your own research on it though. But I really like this herb, and I'm happy to add it to the garden. The next tomato is Martian Giant. We've had a couple red tomatoes off of this, but right now we have mostly green tomatoes on there. Another cute little marigold. Next is Wisconsin 55. You can see some of those tomatoes are blushing. They should be ready very soon. This is a very short tomato plant. But like I said, it's been hit and miss on which tomato plants grew tall. Over here is a sweetie, another cherry tomato. And again, it's not our favorite like Matt's Wild Cherry, but it's still a fun one to grow. Here is Beefsteak. Uh-oh. Tomato hornworm. Yikes. I think I will take that off of there. Beefsteak tomato plant. Not doing so hot. Pink Brandywine. I think that one's ready to pick. Look how pretty that tomato is. Let me pick it off of there. Such a pretty tomato. Again, those are just from the hailstorm. They do get, the pink Brandywine and the yellow Brandywine get kind of cracked on top sometimes. I just cut that out and they still taste really yummy. But the pink Brandywine plant is looking pretty good. Next and last is black creme. I'm super happy this plant is doing well, but again, it does this kind of the same thing that the Brandywines do. It cracks a little bit at the top, and it's just really hard to get the perfect conditions to help it not do that. But it's a delicious, flavorful tomato, so I love growing it, and it's like a deep, rich purple when it's ready to harvest. I'm gonna bring you over to our grapevines. This is our purple grapevine. It's smaller than the other one, but it still looks very healthy to me, so I'm not worried about its growth. It's just growing slower. On the other side is white grapes, and it's totally taken over and taken off, which I'm super thrilled to see. So pretty. It's a beautiful plant. Oh, awesome. Ryan weed eated in here for me. I was gonna pull all those. I'm so grateful he did that. This is the lemon balm box that I'm hoping one day the lemon balm will just take over. The strawberries have done such a good job of sending off babies and taking over. Look how beautiful all those little strawberries look. I'm so happy it's taking root. I accidentally overwatered the peppers today. Here is where I moved the bleeding heart bush. I moved it into the section that we have all of our peppers in because it gets afternoon shade. And I thought that the bleeding heart bush could really benefit from that because it was really struggling where it was at. A couple volunteer tomato plants. The marigolds aren't. So there's the volunteer tomato, volunteer tomato. Here are all the peppers. I'm actually not gonna go into each name. I just wanted to show you how awesome they're doing. I do know this one. This is the Lunchbox Red, and it's a sweet pepper. Super yummy. They're kind of tiny, but they're delicious. And then next to that, I want to say this is Paseo Bajío. And I'm kind of waiting for them to turn a more black color. They're looking really neat. Look at these big green bell peppers. Super, super cool. I'm running out of light. I'm trying to do this quickly. So those are ancho peppers right there in the center. We have jalafuego right here. They're large jalapenos. And then this is the neatest bell pepper I've seen. It's like almost like a dark, it's a dark purple. It almost looks black. It's called Carnival Bell, and I didn't know what color it would be because the package had all different kinds of colors. But here's how the whole pepper bed is looking as a whole. Really beautiful. I took some clips in the main garden the other day. I'm gonna see if I can use those clips here now. But I wanna show you there's a bunch of hummingbirds in here right now. I don't know if you can see them, and I'm gonna try and get up as close as I can. Oh, they flew away. I need to water this garden. Our spaghetti squash is doing really well. Our Kajari melons are doing very well. Oop, this one's about ready to pick. It'll be ready tomorrow. Turning orange. These are our honey melon. I'll put the correct name on the screen. It's an Indian name, and this was my favorite one. The flavor of this, it just tasted so sweet. It reminded me of honey from bees. So it's interesting that's its name. But this is just my favorite section of the garden this year because the hummingbirds just hang out in here. They love it. And these double Sun King sunflowers, wow, stunning. I recommend, if you're a gardener, to plant them. This is just a regular sunflower. We still love them. Beautiful. But look at that pop of color that those double Sun King flowers bring. Aren't they just stunning? So fluffy. Almost like a giant dandelion, but prettier. I don't know. They're just gorgeous. The cucumbers are doing great. There's one, actually there's a couple of really long ones. The cantaloupe are doing great. I'll go in and show you that from the other side. This pink zinnia is doing great. And the okra is looking gorgeous. And all my squash is struggling. The squash bugs have kind of taken over. So the squash will probably need to be pulled out. But let me show you this okra. This is the Burgundy Okra from Baker Creek. And it's this beautiful color and a beautiful plant. I love it. I think it's so fascinating. So beautiful, and just a really neat thing to grow. This is the regular Clemson spineless okra, and these are Evening Sun sunflowers. These are my tried and true favorites, but I don't know, just looking at those double sun kings, it's a toss-up this year. It's gonna be a tie. Here's the cantaloupe I wanted to show you. We have eaten a couple of our cantaloupes so far, and they have been delicious. Well, all right, the garden is looking a little more like where the wild things grow this August, but I will go ahead and do a garden tour. Over here is a bunch of weeds, but also some volunteer zinnias that grew, and I just love this red color right here. There's also a bunch of marigolds and basil. And this stuff just randomly grew on its own. And so I thought it was kind of cool, even though it's not in the garden space, so I kind of wanted to show it. But there's a lot of weeds in there. Oh, there's a tomatillo plant. That's funny. I didn't plant any tomatillos this year because we get really bad three-striped potato beetles. That is so funny. That's a tomatillo right there. The honeysuckle are doing really good. They still have a gap right there that they just aren't filling out, but they are looking very large and wild this year. Well, let's go in and see what's growing. This sunflower got blown over in the last storm. Still has a bunch of sunflower seeds on it. And we have a lot of marigolds. And then another one of those red zinnias. We also have some chamomile growing randomly everywhere. And the okra is doing pretty well. So this here is the Clemson spineless. I was gonna leave this one for one more day, but now I think it might be too big. Maybe not. I don't know. It's kind of massive. It's like as big as my foot. Let me show you. Oh, okra. I usually cut it with. I usually cut it off right there. I don't usually do what I just did. Look at this. It's as big as my foot. That one's probably not going to be very good. I love the okra flower. Before it becomes a little okra pod, it puts off this really yellow, pretty flower. It's really neat. I had never seen that before. Okay, right here, this was supposed to be honeydew melons. But they just, this corner of the garden just, the marigolds are doing good and the grass is doing good, but the things I planted never grew. So it looks like there's one tiny melon started. I don't know, it might be too late, and this plant is so little. It was supposed to go up over this archway, and it never did. All right, and then over here, originally I had planted the Mexican sour gherkins, and they also never grew. So this is blue Hubbard squash that I decided to try. But it's also just a very small plant. I think that this section of the garden is just not, it's just depleted of nutrients. This was a volunteer sunflower that grew. And the other thing growing here that turned out really, really pretty is morning glories. My kids planted these morning glories for Father's Day. And I never thought that I would put them in the garden because I think that they can take over. But because nothing is growing here, I was really hoping to get something to grow. So the morning glories are actually growing, but the squash and the melons are just super, super tiny and not doing well in this section. Coming over here, I have a volunteer yellow pear tomato. I let it grow because I was curious to see what kind of tomato it was. It's looking a little sad, but it grew without any help from me. This right here is a yellow 4 o'clock plant and an evening sun sunflower. I did plant that one. It's beautiful. All down this row where there are weeds and grass are more okras. And they are producing, so they are doing well. Right here are a bunch of volunteer sunflowers, so I do not know what types these are, and I think they kind of mixed together. I had mammoth sunflowers and evening sun sunflowers last year. And then coming to this edge over here is asparagus and onions. I think this row did pretty good. You can see the weeds are winning. And here is another volunteer plant. It's a zucchini. And I did get a zucchini plant off of it. I didn't know what kind of squash it was until it grew a zucchini right here. I harvested it yesterday. But look how massive these leaves are. This was just a volunteer zucchini plant. And over here I have our blackberry bushes. This is the dwarf variety that I got. And this is the thornless blackberry bush that I planted last year. And I'm not sure if I was supposed to try and get it to grow up or if I was supposed to let these run. So Ryan and I, it wasn't just me, we put these 2 PVC pipes to try and make them go up because at one point they were all just right here. But now, as you can see, these just go so long. And I'm wondering if I should have just let them crawl along the ground here and put up new bushes. I'm not sure. I'm new at growing blackberries. No flowers or fruit on it at all. Just a really giant plant with a lot of runners. My bean experiment isn't going well. I mean, we've gotten some beans. This is the yellow wax bean. I'm not doing well on keeping up with the garden right now, if I'm being totally honest. But here's the yellow wax bean. They have really good flavor. And this was the bush bean, tender pod. And this is the dragon tongue bean. This one is actually looking better than the last time I looked. Oh, how neat. Look. That's the dragon tongue bean. Wonder how they taste. Very cool. So, I guess I don't know much about beans. I was expecting them to be larger and bushier. They're very small plants. See, I don't know. It might just be this row, though. This row is doing really bad. You can see nothing grew up on my archways. Well, I've got a little bit of butternut squash. But this row is just doing terrible compared to the rest of the garden. Which I am very excited to show you some things that are... Look at this sunflower. It's an evening sun, and I've never seen an evening sun get that tall. Oh, it's so pretty. So here we have butternut squash. Again, this is my row that is just sad. This is an evening sun sunflower. And this is the height that they get to, not too tall. That one just really took off for some reason. Now, these Chinese red noodle beans did awesome. Not much foliage, but a lot of beans. Look at this one. I'm going to save the seeds from this one. So long. They're so neat. I've never seen anything like it. So this archway did pretty well with the Chinese noodle beans. Next was the cucamelons that died, so then I planted squashes, which are also just very small, don't look like they should. But these morning glories are looking really pretty, and I'm hoping that maybe they'll take over the archway this fall. And down here is the honeydew melon, which again is getting choked out by weeds, but even when I had it weeded perfectly, this is just how big the leaves got. Very small. They should be much bigger than that. So there's a bunch of chamomile growing down there. And we'll come to the next archway. At the end of this row, I had chocolate cherry sunflowers, and they're all kind of dying off. It's the end of the season for them, I think. But they are beautiful. This one looks like an evening sun, but I know it was a chocolate cherry. Some of them are darker than others. And then a zinnia right here. Then our cantaloupe. Our cantaloupe did really well this year. We've eaten 2 of them already. And look, here's another one growing. Just doing super well this year. So happy with the cantaloupe. Except I did get this, I think it's blossom end rot. On some of the melons, they did this. I'm going to be doing some amending this winter in this garden because I want to keep this shape that I have with the archways. Oh, there's a hummingbird. So neat. The hummingbirds really like these archways. They perch on them and they just seem to really like this garden design. So I'm definitely going to be keeping the garden this way for next year. Now this zinnia did so well. It's like as tall as a sunflower. I'll back up so you can see just how tall this plant is. It's so pretty. Just a bright, vibrant pink. Now these are Chelsea's Prize English cucumber, and they started off really slow, but now we're starting to get cucumbers. And then I have a dill plant in here as well. A little overcrowded, like I already mentioned. But that's looking pretty. Then again, the Chinese noodle bean archway and the butternut squash. Squash bugs totally took over the garden, and we had a really bad hailstorm that just took out a bunch of the leaves. So here is our butternut squash. We've been battling squash bugs, and we also had a hailstorm that really just took out a lot of the garden. Then more okra. This is the Clemson Spineless. And right here is the Burgundy. Here is the Burgundy Okra. It's gotten so much taller and it's doing very, very well. Very excited to see this, and we've been frying okra and the kids are really enjoying it that way. So that's the first row of archways. Like I said, I'm really bummed that it didn't totally fill out, but I've learned a lot this season and I am really excited to try again and try some different plants on the archways. Here is our little squash patch that got massive. It's totally surrounded by marigolds. And this is gray striped zucchini. And I just saw one down here that's ready to pick. Well, there's a couple in there. We've been battling the squash bugs, but it's still producing. Well, I haven't really been battling. I've been just letting them win. But still getting some beautiful zucchini. And then we have the, I can't remember if it's the yellow scallop squash or the acorn squash. But it's still really producing a lot. I had to end up ripping up my yellow crooked neck squash, and it looks like I'm gonna rip this one out too. It's not doing well, and it'll spread disease onto the other ones, so I might just pull that one out very soon. I'm gonna take you down the very center of the archways because some very exciting things just bloomed down here. You can see them in the film already. These are the double Sun King sunflowers. Look how beautiful these flowers are. They're fluffy and pretty and bright, and I'm so happy that I purchased this seed from Baker Creek. Really, really, really wanted to show you these. And how they look just so pretty down the center of this, I don't know, in between the archways. Down here is a hollyhock. Unfortunately, this is the only one that survived. But it's doing well, the one that survived. Here's another view of those English cucumbers and the dill. There's the dill plant. And here's the English cucumbers. They're so yummy. This is, again, Chelsea's Prize English cucumber. And in the past, they've done very well for us. So I'm not sure why they got such a slow start this year, but they're doing well now. Coming down this last archway, we have marigolds, white eggplant. These are the plants I bought from the plant stand in Arkansas. And I don't know when to pick them. I picked a couple and they tasted really gross. So I think I just picked them at the wrong time. And then we also have some pink 4 o'clocks tucked in with the squash. This was a volunteer plant. I just let it grow. Actually, all the 4 o'clocks in the garden are volunteer. This zinnia was also a volunteer plant, but I did plant all these double Sun King sunflowers on purpose. Down here is our bush baby watermelons, and I don't know, I'm kind of sad because each one only produced 1 watermelon each. So I'm not sure if I'm going to be happy with that variety in the future. If you have a small area, I could see where that could be helpful. These pink painted lady beans have been the star of the show since day 1, and the hummingbirds absolutely go crazy for them. I am really hoping to grow these again next year. I love them. I think they filled out that archway so beautifully. And they're starting to produce beans now. It took them a while. They didn't start producing right away. But they always produced these beautiful red flowers. They almost have a little bit of an orange tint to them. But like I said, the hummingbirds just go crazy. Over here are the silver watermelons that we planted, and they did really well. We haven't tasted them yet, though. They're not big enough to pick just yet. Here's the pink painted lady beans again. They have a really good flavor. Now, the spaghetti squash is like the star of the show. It has done so well being trellised on these archways just like this. And it's just beautiful. My brother and his wife really like spaghetti squash, so this archway I kind of just planted for them. But as you can see, we're getting a lot of beautiful fruits. Or do you call them vegetables? I don't know. Getting a lot of squash. And they're doing well. Next, also very beautiful and very much, oh, there's the kitty. Very good and really like these archway are the Kajari melons and the honey melon. I will put the name on the screen for the honey melon. It's actually a longer name that I cannot pronounce very well. But they are looking good. And this melon here, this one has been my favorite that we've grown this season. So we've tried the Kajari, we've tried the honeydew. I mean, not honeydew, our honeydew didn't grow. We've tried the Kajari, we've tried the honey melon, and we've tried the cantaloupe. And the honey melons are my favorite. And then these black cherry sunflowers are on their way out, but a few of them are still blooming and they are just beautiful. So these ones have been my favorite flavor this year. And I am so excited they did so well. We will grow them again next year for sure. I want to show you this flower. It's a white floor clock and I think it is beautiful. I love the white ones. They remind me of like fairy dresses or something like that. Just really, really pretty. And that is it for the main garden this year. It's how it's looking. Some things I'm learning. My first time doing the archways, so I've learned what not to do and what to do. The hummingbirds are just lively and active right now. They are so pretty. The camera doesn't do all the things justice. It's beautiful to see all these things. Thank you so much for watching this garden tour. I hope that you enjoyed spending time with me this evening. There's mosquitoes all over me. It's gonna be okay though. Thank you for watching. If you haven't done so, we would encourage you to subscribe. We are just learning. We're not professional gardeners or farmers just yet, but we're excited to share this journey and show what we are learning with others. Okay, I'm out. There's too many mosquitoes. Bye. Have a great day. We are out in the garden and we found something so exciting. These Kajari melons have turned orange. I think we're gonna pick one and see how it tastes. See if it is ready. Oh, it fell right off. Let's go taste it, guys. Look how cute it is. It looks like a little pumpkin.
It smells weird.
And then the melons actually are growing so well right now. They must really love the weather that we're having. We've been getting a lot of rainstorms. They're just so neat. This is our first time growing this kind of melon.
Everything that's dying is coming back to life.
Yeah, it sort of has. We got some squash bugs and I trimmed the bottoms here, but it looks like the tops are still going to be okay and they're still producing some more fruit.
Right here, these were getting eaten and so am I.
Yeah, there's mosquitoes out here. This was also a hailstorm. We got a hailstorm damage. So it actually is looking pretty good. Oh, there's some hummingbirds.
Why is it always being you? Are you videoing?
We're going to try it.
Are you videoing?
What's it look like inside? Oh, it looks like a honeydew. How does it smell?
Smells like a melon.
Is it supposed to taste like a watermelon?
Yeah, and that's quite sure.
We don't know what it's going to taste like.
What is it?
It's a Kajari melon.
It's a Kajari?
Ryan is most excited to try this.
Is it ripe?
I think so.
Sure.
It fell right off the vine.
Is that what it's supposed to do?
I think so.
Come on in, Levi.
We'll just catch where Mother Nature intended.
Look how cute this melon is.
Levi, are you listening? Come try the melon. Where's Mommy taking you?
I told you to go outside instead of screaming through the window. You want to try it, Emmett?
Yeah.
Emmett can try it first. Or should we try it first? Make sure he doesn't.
Wait up, bud.
Wait back. Wait back. Big.
Oh, thanks.
Big tub.
Give it a try, Emmett.
Oh, my mom.
Here.
Wait, I'm not. I'm ready to try. What's a melon?
It's a Kajari melon. Can you go on that side so I can see you
Just a
all?
minute. Just a minute. Let me get one so we can all try it at the same time.
Go,
It
Levi.
doesn't look right.
It's a green one. It's supposed to look like that. I think.
What is it supposed to taste like?
Sweet? I think.
Careful, Emma.
What if it's sour?
It looks like a honeydew melon to me.
It does. It doesn't smell like one.
And honeydew is my favorite melon.
Emma?
I want some. Emma's trying it. Mom, what?
Jenna?
Good. Hannah, go over there so I can see you.
Come over here.
Levi, I can't see you.
It's really weird.
Kind of tastes weird. Did you try it, Ryan?
Can I have another one?
It's good.
I'm going to try it.
It
Mmm.
tastes like cantaloupe.
Might be a little overripe,
I think
huh?
it's overripe.
Yeah, it might be a little overripe.
Can you go pick the other one, Kaden? Now we're going to keep a close eye on that because it was green yesterday, it felt like, and all of a sudden it was orange. It was probably orange a couple days ago.
Yeah, I saw it at least turning orange the other day. So.
So maybe let's wait till it gets bright orange. It kind of looks a little bit brownish a little bit. So maybe when it's bright orange. But the kids are seeming to like it.
Can you tell me, bud?
Mmm,
Like it.
good. Apparently Levi doesn't like it.
Yeah, but
Like
he
it,
doesn't
Emmett?
like anything.
Tastes like cantaloupe.
It's similar to cantaloupe.